Hey, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? It's the one and only Seth Doty coming at you again, aka Doty Vibes. Instagram, real good underscore Doty. Today, I want to talk about what about if reality is a perspective? And the reason why I want to talk about this, guys, is because I watched this amazing video of this mentor. Well, I mean, he's somewhat of a mentor of mine, even though I haven't met him, but he inspired me to make these type of videos. His name's Leo at authorized.org. I believe I came upon him back in 2015. And he's just a very intellectual person, very open-minded, and I love his content. I love the content that he puts out because he really has a very open-minded, positive perspective on things and very at peace with himself. So his video talked about what about if reality is nothing but perspective, and that's something that I've been questioning myself before I even came upon this video. And me watching the video that he put out really gave me even more of a perspective on it, and it makes sense. So in the video, he talks about he wants us to question everything. Question everything is a lot of the times what we believe in is installed by us from our parents because of our upbringing. So let's just say you grew up in a house, that's very religious. Every Sunday y'all go to church, and then after church, y'all go home, read the Bible, and then y'all go to Bible study, during the week, at least 2-3 times during the week. Your mindset is going to be installed with religion, and that's going to be your bias. And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. There's nothing wrong about that, but that's your perspective. Just like someone who's, Muslim, they end up going to their mosque, and then after their mosque, they go home and pray. I know they pray 5 times a day. And then, I don't know if they had Bible study, but they, they praise their God, Muhammad. They do that. So that's their perspective. But what the problem comes in is sometimes Christians, tend to bash their religion, their beliefs based off what they see, instead of really trying to understand and seek to understand their beliefs. It's like, for an instance, something looks nasty. Oh, well, that looks nasty. That's going to be fucking disgusting. But it's like, that's our perspective. We don't know that. But we already have that negative belief. So why don't we question, like, hey, why is that going to be nasty? Why? I know I'm looking at it. I know it looks nasty, but why is it going to be nasty? And that's the thing we have to do to ourselves, guys. We have to question. So back to what I was saying about Muslims and Christians is, why don't the Christians really seek to understand their beliefs? Seek to understand the Muslim beliefs. Maybe go to a mosque, or maybe sit down and talk to them and try to really get a better understanding. Or the Muslims, when it comes to the Christians, they can do the same, for us too as well. So we can figure out ways to come together without bashing each other. Really do our research, not just go off what somebody else told us. You know what I'm saying? So from someone who was brought up, going to church, you have to question some of the stories that are going on. Like, Jesus turned water to wine, and Moses, and the burning bush, what I mean? And Noah's Ark. Like, what about if those stories were inspired by psychedelic trips? Like, think about it. Psychedelic visions. What about, guys, when Jesus turned water to wine, if he really was experiencing DMT? Because DMT is the spirit molecule. So what about if he was in a very crazy, intense, psychedelic high to where that's what he envisioned? And then later they found a way to make wine. But that's something that people who are super religious, they don't want to come to grips about that. They don't want to seek to understand that. They're like, no, it's in the Bible. We're automatically going to believe it. But no, you have to be open-minded. You have to let your ego go and maybe question, like, you know what? Maybe he was under the influence. Or the burning bush, the fact that, the burning bush. Like, supposedly that burning bush was a acacia bush that had amounts of DMT in it. So what about if that bush was just burning due to it being super hot, lack of rain, which caused the bush to burn, which later produced DMT, and then, you know, they came in contact with it and started hallucinating. You know what I'm saying? Or Noah's Ark, like, it's crazy. What about, like, if he really had a crazy psychedelic trip with a crazy amount of psilocybin mushrooms. Yeah, my bad. Psilocybin mushrooms. What about if you had a really crazy trip with psilocybin mushrooms? If you maybe took like 7 to 8 grams of that and just had all these crazy visuals. Like, that's what we have to come to grips about, guys, because, you know, life's about looking at things from another perspective. And you know, the fact that if y'all gonna believe all this stuff, you know, in the Bible, why not be open-minded to other things? Or when it comes to, you know, Santa Claus, like, the fact that we know that it's silly, we lie to our kids about it. We tell them that Santa Claus is real. But do we ever question ourselves and ask ourselves, like, God, why are we lying to our kids? Like, we know it's not right. We know when we tell them that Santa Claus isn't real, it's going to break their heart because they're going to think we lied to them on purpose. That's something that we have to question and ask ourselves. We have to look at it from like, okay, like, even though society has said that Santa Claus is somewhat real because they have all these drawings of Santa Claus and these elves and they make movies about it, we have to lie to our kids about it, but we know it's not right. So why don't we look at it from the standpoint of like saying like, okay, well, it's not right. It's not right. Why don't we just come clean and be honest? Another thing about Santa Claus that people fail to realize is, what about if it was also due to psychedelics? Because from research I've done, there was a shaman by Larland by the North Pole that would travel during the wintertime, around Christmas time. And he would fall through the chimney, he'd meet with the people, and then he'd have these Amanita muscaria. They're the Santa Claus mushroom, right? And they can be very poisonous, but Amanita muscaria. Anyways, legend said that he was giving them gifts and would make them trip out, would make them, you know, give them all these mushrooms and they'd all eat it and they'd all trip out. And then they would start hallucinating. And then the reindeer, how, you know, we say that they fly and how, you know, the myth was brought up, reindeer actually eat mushrooms. So I don't know if y'all knew that, but the reindeer eat the mushrooms. So the reindeer, by eating the mushrooms, they started tripping too and getting all these crazy psychedelic visions. But our ego doesn't want us to allow to believe that, because what is portrayed, how we were brought up, was, you know, Santa Claus is from the North Pole and he has his elves and his flying reindeer. But we don't want to look at it from the perspective of like, maybe it had to do with psychedelics. Maybe the Amanita muscaria, known as the Santa Claus mushroom, guys, the Santa Claus mushroom, because it's red and it's white. Maybe the shaman, who was big and fat, ate it, and all the people were the elves. Or maybe Santa Claus was just like, you know what I mean? Because Santa Claus did give supposedly his workers presents too. So what about if those people were either elves or just normal people? Anyways, guys, you have to be open-minded about it, that possibly psychedelics had to paint a lot of, you know, events in reality. And I know we have a lot of closed-minded views about it, but about psychedelics, but we have to come to grips and say a lot of these, you know, stuff that's portrayed can really, you know, benefit from psychedelics. It just depends on how open-minded we are. Or a lot of times, when it comes to us addressing things to other people, when we tell people how we feel about, you know, the things that they're doing to us, or the times they're not listening to us, or the times that, you know, they just don't appreciate us. Our first instinct is whenever they address things to us, we get defensive and we want to clap back at these people. It's like when they're talking, we're already figuring out what we're going to say to these people. And instead of really questioning ourselves, like, okay, like, why are they saying this to me? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, just wait a second. Like, okay, I'm trying to figure out why this is happening. So that's why it's important, guys, to listen and to just try to look at things from their perspective and question our own perspective and acknowledge that we understand where they're coming from. Because when we acknowledge where they're coming from, they feel respected, and now they feel like, okay, well, this person is acknowledging me, so it makes me feel more comfortable addressing things to this person in the future, suppose of just addressing something to this person and they're automatically getting mad and start yelling. Because when you yell at somebody when they're trying to address how they feel, it's just a very ineffective way to communicate, and nothing happens. Nothing gets done, because only thing that's happening is just one person feels like they can't talk and the other person feels like they're being attacked. So you never really understand the intent behind really what this person is trying to say. You know what I'm saying? Because this person feels disrespected, and it's just too often, guys, we have too much of that. And that's why I'm saying we have to question our perspective. We have to be willing to really seek to understand where these other people are coming from. And we have to just quit living in this world where we're just consumed with our limiting biases on what our perspective on thing about life is. Like, a lot of us have to get rid of this perspective that going to school and getting a degree is the best way to go about getting an education, supposed to people who go to a trade school and, you know what I'm saying, don't have to wait as long as people with a degree to get a job, or have to spend as much money on education to get a job, supposed to people who go to college to get a degree. You know what I'm saying? And we have to question it. Question everything we're doing. Question, like, you know, the foods that we're eating, the music we're listening to, the people we're hanging out with. Question it, guys. And there's times where I still question things that I do because I have to. Because if I don't question what I'm doing, then I'm just being biased. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being absorbed by my ego instead of really just being like, you know what? What am I doing the right thing to do? Or I just think it's the right thing to do. Now, there are some times, guys, where it's like, you know, if someone fucking puts their hands on you, I mean, of course you gotta defend yourself, you know? I mean, that's, you know what I mean? Of course. But what I'm saying is, a lot of times when, you know what I mean, when back to what I was saying, when someone's saying something negative to you, you know, try to figure out why they're saying it. And don't let your emotions cloud your judgment, guys. You know, that's what I'm saying. And a lot of times, guys, when it comes to us letting our emotions cloud our judgment, we're so used to doing that in life. We're so used to just acting out of emotion because either our upbringing in life, you know, we grew up in a household where our parents would fight all the time, and we would carry that aggression to school. And then whenever people would fuck with us at school, we would start fighting. Or maybe at times, you know, when it comes to school, like, you don't feel like you were ever understood or listened to. So you feel like no one ever gets you. So therefore, when no one ever gets you, you feel abandoned. And that pretty much allows a lot of people to cloud their judgment. So that's why, guys, we have to really just, like I say, guys, just really try to understand why everything is happening and try to be the best versions of ourselves and get rid of these limiting biases. These limiting biases. So therefore we can, you know, self-evaluate ourselves more and have better relationships and be able to communicate with people better. Yeah, it's very important. And a lot of times, guys, back to the upbringing, you know, people who are super, super religious, they tend to like not be as open-minded to other practices or religions. And, you know, some of these biases that people have, like Christians that have towards other people, can be very hurtful and very judgmental. So that's why it's important that people who are super religious just be open-minded and question everything that, you know, they've been taught or they've read. Because Just because it's in a textbook doesn't mean it's always true. I mean, guys, we celebrate Christopher Columbus, right? Christopher Columbus killed a whole bunch of Native Americans, and actually he was supposed to be selling to India. But yet, since he ran into Indians, he called them Indians, even though they're called Native Americans. But yet, a lot of people don't want to come to grips with that because their bias is what they see and what they're brought up on. And you know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy, guys. We got to do our homework. But one thing I want to leave y'all is, guys, is that just have an open mind to things, guys. Really seek to understand, and understand that just because you believe in something doesn't always mean it's right. You know? And just because someone believes in something else doesn't mean it's always wrong. Just understand where that person's coming from. Question your beliefs. Seek to understand their beliefs. Even if you don't necessarily agree with it, just understand where they're coming from and try to really feel for that person. Show you empathy for that person. Anyways, guys, I love y'all. Hope you had a wonderful day.